This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and we've got a great show for you today. First, I want to welcome all of you who are new to this show. You know, if this is your first time, I encourage you to stick around. You're going to be amazed. You're going to love this episode. You know, it's typical of the great episodes that we have every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern. We want to see you back every week, every Tuesday and Thursday. Now, I want to tell you about our great guest today. Paul Lovejoy is a financial advisor in Hawaii and just a great human being. But today's going to share the remarkable story of his personal quest to make a regulation crowdfunding investment every single day for 365 days. He pulled it off. You're going to love this story. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, Devin. Thanks for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. My gosh. Okay, first off, we got to know, why on earth would you tackle making a crowdfund investment every single day for a year? What inspired you to do that?
Well, I am a registered investment advisor, and I wanted to give investment plans, financial plans for people without extractive corporations, without exploitations. And I saw regulation crowdfunding and these other platforms that have broken off from the path of Wall Street and forged a new way. And for me to recommend investments and for people to go and have financial plans, I really needed to know the industry at the most core level, that of a customer. So that's why I did it. That's why I invested every single day to really get a feel of what a customer would go through, but not just that. I wanted to understand it on a deeper level so I could easily explain to clients and even have empathy, because now I've experienced the same thing that they will experience. And it's incredible the amount of new knowledge that I learned from doing this. That, I thought I knew about investing. Boy, you don't know until you invest a different one every day. I mean, boy, it's been quite a ride and just a blessing, really.
Oh my gosh, I hear you. Now, Paul, you're an expert. Not only are you a registered investment advisor or financial advisor, you are a very experienced investor. You have been doing this for a long time. You've seen the ups and downs. You've been very open about the fact that you basically got robbed,
Yeah.
literally got robbed a couple of times. So you come with a savvy that very few investors have. What did you learn? What are some specific examples of things you learned during this extraordinary quest to invest 365 days in a Reg CF campaign?
Well, I got to say the biggest takeaway that I got is that debt crowdfunding is like the greatest thing that has happened to investing probably ever. Um, and that's because from a financial planning standpoint, uh, it's so helpful to have predictable monthly payments. And with debt crowdfunding, typically you're going to be crowdfunding an amortized loan, which means that you're going to be getting a set principal and interest payment every month. And from a financial planning perspective, that is so much more helpful versus having a portfolio full of safes, future equity. And it's really difficult to plan with investments that involve future equity. But with the debt crowdfunding, boy, it's just amazing the amount of first off, the debt crowdfunding is the only way the general public can access private credit. Now, private credit has just been terrific since the global financial crisis of 2008, where you mentioned, I was swindled, defrauded, by crooks, and when the banks collapsed and the Fed tightened the ropes and banks weren't lending as much. That's when the private credit exploded, and it hasn't looked back since then. And now with regulation crowdfunding, and there's some other regulations too, where you can get into this. I like to call it crowd lending. I think it's a beautiful word. It's better than debt crowdfunding. I love crowd lending, and so with crowd lending, it allows the general public to access this incredible asset class that has been outperforming the stock market since the financial crash of 2008. So that's got to be the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, that is a huge takeaway. And like you, I love those. I'm making that a core part of my particular personal portfolio as well. It's exciting because so quickly these investments start to repay.
Yeah.
And so every month I'm reinvesting
Yeah.
now at meaningful amounts of capital relative to the portfolio size I've accumulated, and it's exciting to see all this money coming back from your investments. It's like holy cow! A lot of
It's
crowdfunding investments, you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, and it takes more patience than some of us have.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's great. You know, Paul, I wonder if it would help us understand your perspective on things if you go back, share some of what happened to you around the 2008 crisis. It wasn't the crisis itself, it was the crisis that revealed the fraud.
That's right.
Are you up for sharing a little bit of that?
Sure. Yeah. So I was involved with a group called DBSI out of Boise, Idaho, and it was a real estate group that it was a large group of investors, and we would purchase commercial properties. And there's probably about 7,000 of us investors with this company, and at first it was great. We were making consistent quarterly returns, and everything looked fantastic until literally October 2008. Right, Lehman Brothers, they just collapsed, and all of a sudden, this the third quarter payout didn't happen in October. And so I was like, well, what's going on? The investors got together, and we had one investor in our group that was had a bunch of investments with this company. I had two. It was $500,000 worth of money. That's a ton. And not only that, I convinced my brothers and my mother to invest alongside me. This is the worst part. And when the banks collapsed, it turned out that the asset manager, this guy Doug Swinson, who's currently in prison, he took the reserve money, because every property has some reserve money in case something bad happens, like a global financial crisis. You want to be able to. Well, it was gone. We had no reserves, and we were losing tenants, and the buildings went into foreclosure. We lost them, and it was a total disaster. And not only that, I also had a decent stock portfolio, and I had to sell most of it just to kind of survive. And I had to sell it at a horrible time. So including my losses, my brother's and my mother's, it was just north of $1 million in total losses. And I got to tell you, that's not even the worst part. The worst part was the shame of being defrauded and having convincing my family members to join along me. That took a long time to heal and recover from. But I now see it as the fire that has sparked me into regulation crowdfunding, into crowd investing, and to show people that there is a new path. And so I am launching a brand new program called the Crowd Capital Blueprint, and it's a systems breaking program. It's a step-by-step system to show compassionate people exactly how to move their money and do high impact investments without needing millions, without Wall Street, and without guesswork.
That's amazing. And I want to learn more about that. But I want to just contrast a little bit your experience around 2008, horrible experience, I'm sorry. But I want to contrast that with the experience you had with one of your investments on Honeycomb Credit when the company ran into trouble making payments. What happened? Tell us about that.
I love this story, Devin. I get an email from Honeycomb Credit, and I'm starting to read it. And one of my investments, it was just $150, and there were 62 of us, and we crowdfunded a $30,000 small business loan to a company that makes hot sauces. And I'm reading the email, and it's this very impassioned letter from the business owners explaining their business struggles. And it seemed like, oh, that makes sense. Like an event was canceled where they have a lot of their sales coming from. And so, they detailed what it was, and they were they're saying, hey, we want to pay you back. We love that you invested in us, and we so want to pay you back, but we need a couple of months. Can you do that for us? And Honeycomb set it up where we could vote. And I kind of liked not knowing what other people were voting. So I went on and I voted, yes, let's modify this loan. We could have the option to say no, and let's start try and seizing some of their assets to repay this loan, which that's what banks do. So if you don't pay back a loan, there's no like, hey, I need some help here. It's a corporation. They have protocols. It's not like you're asking a community of regular people to help you. And so that's what it was. And a few weeks late went by, and it turned out that we voted yes to modify the loan. And now the company is they're on their feet, they're operating, and it's just a win-win, because I don't want to have to go through the hassle of trying to sell assets of a company to try and recover losses. I've done that. I hate that process. And you never get your whole amount anyways. Might as well just be like, hey, you're human, I'm human, things happen. Yeah, let's extend the loan. Big deal, but
Yeah.
It is a big deal because banks don't do this. This is a huge deal, and it's not. So it's an awesome thing.
Now, quickly, give us the 1-minute version of an explanation of your crowd capital.
The Crowd Capital Blueprint.
Yes, please.
Yeah, well, it is a step-by-step system where you can compassionate people who want to build wealth ethically, but they're struggling with this guilt of investing, and that is very true. A lot of people they don't want to invest because that they feel this guilt that somehow wealth and ethics can't mix. And so I provide them a step-by-step system where it's so easy to, whether you want to start investing right away or you want to move your money from extractive to regenerative, from exploitive to principled. And so that's what the Crowd Capital Blueprint is. It's a powerful system to have a financial plan, to have income when you need it, And when you don't need income, it grows when you don't need it. So I'm very, very proud of what I'm doing here. And I've incorporated everything I've learned from this past year. I'm putting it into this program, and people are just going to love it. It's so easy to understand.
That is great. I love it. I love it. Paul, thank you so much. Listen, we're going to take a quick break here, but be patient with us. We'll be back. Folks, I've got Paul Lovejoy here today. He is a registered financial planner, investment advisor in Hawaii, and just a super great human being. Made a crowdfund investment every day for a year. Oh my gosh, what a great guy. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Paul about his superpower. You don't want to miss this.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding. The book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy. Supercrowd 25, where innovation meets impact.
18 hours of live content, 5 platforms, 1 global audience.
Join the largest event for regulated investment crowdfunding. Live pitches, expert panels, real change.
August 21st and 22nd.
Scan the code or visit thesupercrowd25.com to register free today.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got the Superpowers for Good show here from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Paul Lovejoy, a remarkable human being who, as we discussed in the first half of the show, made a crowdfunding investment every day for a year. It's almost impossible to replicate the information you'd gather from making 365 investments in that time frame. Amazing. Listen, we're going to shift gears now to talk to Paul about his superpowers, so stick around. Paul, thank you so much for being here, sticking around with us. You're just an amazing human being, and I love what you've done over the past year making these investments. What is your superpower?
Well, speaking about my losing all that money, being defrauded, and the shame that followed, it took a lot of personal development to heal myself, and I think that it is a huge superpower, just learning how to heal. And I want to just kind of briefly describe the healing process, which I really do feel like it's a superpower. Now, what happened, the shame that I felt from being defrauded, it was such a strong emotion, and the suffering was so deep that I just pushed it back, and I wanted to just deny that it ever happened. And I would even tell people I was still some big real estate investor, right after I lost, even though I knew I wasn't. It was just such a big denial. And so the first step into healing is to simply acknowledge your suffering and to give yourself compassion for it. And that way, you don't have to deny anymore. You accept it, and you make your suffering less so with compassion, the self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff has a wonderful book called Self-Compassion. I encourage anybody to read that. But that's just the first step. The next step is to be able to forgive. I had to forgive myself for convincing my family members to invest alongside me. I forgave Doug Swenson, the crook who defrauded me. And I forgiveness, and this, Don Miguel Ruiz, the author of the Four Agreements, really explained this to me in a great way. Forgiveness is not about other people. It's not, you don't forgive someone because they deserve your forgiveness or that they shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. People should be held accountable for their actions. Forgiveness is about not suffering every time you think about what that person did to you, because that's what was going on. It only happened once. I only was defrauded once, but I had to suffer every time in my mind that I thought about that. So that was the second thing, is forgiving. And once I did that, it just created this incredible amount of energy that I now had. I didn't have to spend this energy denying. Now I had it to do something else. And so now all of a sudden I had this curiosity about everything, as far as, how did this happen? Why did it happen? And tapping into this curiosity allows you to go ahead and do the next step, which is why I created Stakeholder Enterprise, the Crowd Capital Blueprint, is to prevent this from happening to other people as well. And so this healing process, there's no doubt, is a massive superpower. Giving compassion for yourself and to prevent suffering, huge superpower. Being able to forgive somebody, God, I'm not the first person to talk about forgiveness as a superpower, by the way. It's such an incredible thing and feeling to have, and it doesn't block your mind from thinking about of suffering. You now can use it to think of solutions. It's just incredible, and so I'm grateful for this opportunity to share this superpower, Devin.
That's a great superpower, and I appreciate you sharing some stories to illustrate it. What tips would you give us for being more forgiving, especially because I don't know that I've ever had anyone on this show who would assert that was their superpower, and yet it's so incredibly powerful.
So powerful.
I hear.
Devin,
What are the tips?
Forgiving is so hard to do. It's easy for me to say, oh yeah, forgive, but it's incredibly difficult. And so what you have to do is to think about, okay, I forgive them, but think about how you do. And like, imagine this person or yourself. A lot of times the problem is it's hard to forgive yourself. You want to punish yourself, but you have to think for others. You want to imagine them living their best life, and you want to hope that they are doing that. So that's what you want to think about when you're forgiving other people is, oh, they're living their best life, and I don't have to think about that anymore. So that is a huge tip for anybody who wants to forgive, is to think about others' the best life. When you're forgiving yourself, you want to be treating yourself like a best friend. Think of like if your best friend, or for me, if my kids, if they made a mistake, beating them up for that mistake isn't going to help. Instead, it's like, yeah, you made the mistake. You're not the first person who's ever made this mistake. In fact, lots of people have made this mistake, and you can forgive yourself because you accept that you did this. It's not that you're giving yourself a free pass. It's more of you acknowledge that you made this mistake. And because of that acknowledgement and that compassion, you can forgive yourself and move on, knowing that you've learned. It's not like something you need to beat yourself up to not learn. That just puts you in your mind in a bad place. So forgiving others, think about them living their best life, and for yourself, treat yourself like you would treat a best friend or your kids or something along those lines. And that way it makes it so much easier to forgive yourself and others. And it's freeing, not holding grudges. I got to say, resentment is poison for the soul, and forgiveness is the antidote.
That is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Paul, you've got 30 seconds. Tell us how people can learn more about your work and connect with you personally.
Yeah, well, go to stakeholderenterprise.com. I have a new ebook that is launching May 1st, and you can go ahead and get it on that. It's called The Next Revolution Will Be Financial. It's a mix between an investing guide and a manifesto, financial activism manifesto. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, really easy to find me, Paul Lovejoy, on Instagram as well. You just type in Paul Lovejoy, and I'm pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. Well, Paul, we are so grateful that you would make time for us to do the show today. After the year you spend investing, the lessons you've learned are incredible. Your superpower is inspirational. I thank you for being with us today, and we want to wish you every success in the great work you're doing to help people invest with more impact and more success.
Thank you, Devin. I love your show. I love you. I love what you're doing, and I'm just thrilled to be here.
All righty, now let's do some good.